Lieber Wolfgang Ischinger, ladies and gentlemen, indeed, I vividly remember how 2 years ago Joe Biden promised at the Munich Security Conference, we will be back. And indeed, we've just seen and heard it, the US is back. And as we've also just heard, more globally committed than ever. This commitment couldn't come at a better time. How we come out of this crisis will have profound consequences for our citizens, for our economies, and also for the position of our common alliance in the post-COVID world. And let me give you 2 examples for what could be driving our new global agenda. The first example is climate change. Climate change is the looming crisis behind COVID. And the loss of biodiversity is a main driver of today's and potentially future pandemics. More than a year ago, Europe has said that it wants to become the first climate neutral continent by 2050. And with our European Green Deal, we want to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% already by 2030. But to successfully fight global climate change, we need others to match our ambition. And they do. From South Korea to Japan, from South Africa to China. And we are really excited that President Biden rejoined the Paris Agreement on his very first day in office. Because the United States is our natural partner for global leadership on climate change. And I'm sure a shared transatlantic commitment to a net zero emissions pathway by 2050 would make climate neutrality a new global benchmark. And it would be a timely message in the run-up to the COP26, the next UN climate change conference, to be held in Glasgow later this year. We've just heard it. I also commend President Biden's initiative to host a Climate Leaders Summit on Earth Day, because now is the time for action. And this is also true when it comes to the digital world and the impact it has on our democracies. And this is my second example. The storming on the US Capitol was a turning point for our discussion on the impact social media have on our democracies. This is what happens when words incite action. In a world where polarizing opinions are the most likely to be heard, it is only a short step from crude conspiracy theories to the death of police officers. In September, the Commission launched the Digital Services Act and the Digital Market Act, our new framework for the digital market. And of course, imposing democratic limits on the uncontrolled power of the big tech companies alone will not stop political violence, but it is an important step. At its most basic, we want to make sure that what is illegal offline is also illegal online. And we want clear requirements that internet firms take responsibility for the content they distribute, promote, and remove. Because we just cannot leave decisions which have a huge impact on our democracies to computer programs without any human supervision or to the boardrooms in Silicon Valley. And the latest decision on Facebook regarding Australia is just another proof for that. Today, I want to invite our American friends to join our initiatives. Together, we could create a digital economy rulebook that is valid worldwide. A set of rules based on our values: human rights and pluralism, inclusion, and the protection of privacy. We need to join forces and protect these values with all our energy. Ladies and gentlemen, A more and more assertive China has shown robust economic growth in 2020, despite the pandemic. And a more and more defiant Russia continues to breach international rules at home and abroad, despite growing protests of its own citizens. It is up to us, the United States and Europe, to strengthen our cooperation again as proven and trusted partners, as indispensable allies, shoulder to shoulder, because if we lead the way, this is not only about joining forces. This is a signal to the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Thank you very much. As you know very well, we have this wonderful program, the Munich Young Leaders, which is co-organized by the Kerber Foundation. And the first question that we would like to put to you comes from one of our Munich Young Leaders, from Caroline Schmutte from Germany. Caroline, please.
The European Union and the United States have a long and fruitful history of cooperation, and it's great to see that energy back under President Biden. However, both sides turned recently inwards, for example by competing against each other on vaccines. How do you plan to use this new transatlantic energy to lead the European Union out of the pandemic into a strong recovery and to tackle global issues together with the United States?
Thank you, Caroline. Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this question. And indeed, first of all, the story of vaccinations for me is not one of competition. To the contrary, it is one of unprecedented cooperation. You might remember last year, Europe convened 2 pledging sessions with a result of 16 billion euro to fight COVID. And we were joined by more than 40 countries, but also by NGOs like Global Citizen and foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or the Wellcome Trust, for example. And together with WHO, we put in place the ACT Accelerator and COVAX. You all know the facility where high-income countries finance access to vaccines for low- and middle-income countries. And just 2 hours ago at the meeting of the G7, we doubled our funding to COVAX, and it was exciting to see the pledging of the United States. Indeed, the United States are back. And Europe is also the continent, that's the second aspect, that produces and exports the most vaccines to the rest of the world. So this also shows that we are walking the talk. We're leading by the power of our example. And finally, yes, you are right. Let's commit to invest in a strong economic recovery, a recovery that is digital and sustainable, fair and inclusive. And you heard President Biden. This is why we in Europe just built our recovery package, Next Generation EU, we call it. It's 1.8 trillion euro. It is for the European Green Deal and digitalization, because it's good for transatlantic partnership, but it's also most important for our children's future we are investing in, because they have a right to a modern world and a healthier planet.
Thank you very much. I think we have time for one last and brief question, and I'd like to go to the issue of trade. What are your priorities, if I may ask, for the future transatlantic trade agenda? Are you in favor, for example, of taking another shot at TTIP? Or what other low-hanging fruit can you identify out there? What's your proposal?
Well, trade is a wide subject where we are having many trade agreements worldwide. And indeed, I don't think that TTIP will be revived, because we are not there where the United States left us 4 years ago anymore. The world has changed, the United States have changed, and Europe has changed. But let me also have a look at what our impact in geopolitics is, not only on the point of trade, but also on other topics. So the European Union is an economic superpower. It is the most important export market on the US, India, South Africa, Russia, just to name a few. And when it comes to Africa, it's not China, but Europe is the largest economic partner by far. And we are, by the way, the #1 global regulator. Just recently, we have proposed to set up, indeed, an EU-US Trade and Technology Council. Because we know that those who write global rules are the ones who are shaping the future of their societies. And you heard the president. None of us wants China to do this for us. So I think doing it together, shaping our trade and technology agenda, is the right way to go. A new global agenda, a more globally oriented US, and a more capable Europe. This is how we can tackle the challenges, and Europe is ready for this.
Thank you so much. Thank you, President von der Leyen.